We have one public hearing tonight. Speakers should begin their remarks by telling council their names and cities of residence, and if they feel comfortable doing so, their home addresses. When called upon, please wait until our meeting host promotes you to speaker. When you are promoted, your screen will flash and say reconnecting to meeting. Please do not leave the meeting. You will be reconnected, and you will need to turn on your camera if you have one and your microphone. If you have signed up to answer questions only, state your name and note that you are available for questions of council. Speakers will have 3 minutes. There's no yielding of time. You will see your time flash on the screen when you have 30 seconds left. Speakers must stay on the topic of the hearing and must direct their comments to the council members. Please refrain from profane or obscene speech. Direct your comments to council as a whole, and please refrain from individual or personal attacks. And we will be hearing an ordinance approving and accepting the East Central Area Plan, which will become part of the Comprehensive Plan 2040 for the City and County of Denver. Councilmember Hines, will you please put Council Bill 930 on the floor for passage?
Thank you, Madam President. I move that Council Bill 20-0930 be placed upon final consideration and do pass.
Thank you. It has been moved. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilwoman. The required public hearing for Council Bill 20-0930 is open. May we please have the staff report?
Hi, good evening. This is Laura Aldrete. I'm the Executive Director of Community Planning and Development. And I'm just going to say a few words. I know you're all very anxious to get to the meat of the plan, but this is so much work has been done on behalf of the citizens and the staff at CPD. I just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce it today. With the East Central Area Plan and the East Area Plan, which is at Planning Board this week, we're approaching the end of the first phase of the Neighborhood Planning Initiative, which was launched about 3 years ago. And our goals for this initiative were to provide every neighborhood in the city an opportunity to come together to create policy guidance that addresses our citywide goals around inclusivity, health, and mobility in a way that makes sense for those neighborhoods. To identify local concerns that are harder to address than on a citywide level, which we did with Blueprint Denver and Comprehensive Plan 2040. And to learn from each of those processes and incorporate those lessons into our future planning. And lastly, to conduct inclusive and responsive community engagement that used every tool available to us to include as many voices as possible throughout the process. We feel that the East Central and the East Plan, as well as the Far Northeast Plan, which was our first NPI adopted last year, we set a strong foundation that we'll continue to build on as we continue our neighborhood planning work around the city. With East Central Area Plan, which you're looking at today, our team will give you a detailed look at the plan and the process, but there's just a few points I wanted to highlight for you. One is that we conducted outreach to residents experiencing homelessness throughout the partnership with service providers, which we had never done before in the planning process. During the public review process, we provided updated drafts 3 times in response to community comments, which is something also new for us. We introduced new tools that provided an online forum for participants to comment directly onto the draft plans and to be able to see each other's comments to help foster collaboration and conversation amongst the community and with our planners. And we accommodated community requests for more time to review the draft plan, and that lengthened our process by a year, which has resulted in a better plan. You know, obviously, as some of you may have followed, we haven't always agreed, and there have been some disagreements amongst citizens and various stakeholders, but we think that that's part of the process, right? Is to really be able to hear everyone's comments and to take them into the larger pool of what becomes the plan. But I think the plan, you know, as I say that, you know, the plan that is going to be laid out before you today is stronger because it has gone through that rigorous process. and as a result reflects the voices that have participated. So there are lessons that we're taking from this and from the East Area Plan that will inform our plans moving forward, which include doing more to report out on work done by the steering committee. So for greater transparency, building in more time for public review at the end of the process, and continuing to work with partners who can bring new people into the process who have not participated before. We're also creating a language access plan to create more transparency and predictability about translation and interpretation services across all of our work. That is happening for our department. And one of the biggest struggles we have is the cost constraints for translation. And so we feel like this will be able, with this tool, we'll be able to surgically go in and look at how to best utilize interpretation and translation services for the various activities we're doing. I'm grateful and proud of all the work of this CPD team that's put into this plan, as well as the community members who participated, because they care that deeply about their community. I think it should make us all proud as Denver residents for that participation. The first public meeting I attended in my tenure as executive director, which is I'm just about a year in, was one of the community workshops at East High School last November for this plan. And there were over 100 people there. There was lots of great conversations happening. People were engaged, respectful, and it just really showed me just how important these plans are and how committed the community is to ensure that they participate in the vision of the future of their neighborhood. So I'm really looking forward to continuing to work on this, on these plans in other areas of the city, and to continue to build on what we've done in this first phase of the NPI, the Neighborhood Planning Initiative. With that, we'll turn it over to Kurt Upton. And again, just thank you for giving me a few minutes to introduce this at the beginning, and look forward to hearing the conversation later this evening. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Laura. We'll go ahead and have Kurt go ahead and continue with the presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Council President Gilmore and members of Council. Good evening. This is Kurt Upton with Community Planning and Development, here to introduce the staff report for the East Central Area Plan. I'm going to provide a brief overview of the plan structure and the content of the plan, as well as the 3 review criteria that you will use to make a decision on approval. So the East Central area, for those of you who are not familiar, or as a reminder, are the 6 neighborhood statistical areas adjacent to Colfax Avenue and between Broadway and Colorado Boulevard. 4 of the 6 neighborhood statistical areas are in Council District 10, and 2 of the neighborhoods are in Council District 9. And that culminates in about 83% of the population in District 10 and 17% in District 9. So the plan is organized around topics and also sub areas, or the neighborhoods within the East Central area. So it includes land use and built form that makes recommendations related to zoning and urban design, economy and housing, which has recommendations related to small businesses, jobs, training, and affordable housing, mobility, which makes recommendations related to infrastructure for bicyclists, pedestrians, transit riders, and quality of life infrastructure that covers landscaping, green infrastructure, the tree canopy, and parks. There's also sections within the plan for each neighborhood statistical area in East Central that gives customized recommendations for the unique attributes of each neighborhood, as well as the Colfax corridor, and finally an implementation section that outlines a work program for short-term and long-term implementation of recommendations. The planning process, as well as the plan content itself, was prepared through an equity lens, and that includes the 3 equity concepts that are in Comprehensive Plan 2040 and Blueprint Denver. That's access to opportunity, vulnerability to displacement, jobs, and housing diversity. And while the plan has a number of recommendations across those comprehensive topics, I'm going to highlight the 6 priority recommendations that consistently rose to the top throughout our planning process. The first is to strengthen the local economy by providing training for jobs in local industries, improving access to employment, and supporting locally owned independent businesses. And that includes partnerships with East Central hospitals. East Central has a number of hospitals both within the area as well as right adjacent to the area along the boundaries. And leveraging this asset of the hospitals to provide more training for residents and affordable housing, particularly for healthcare employees. Secondly, to preserve the independent culture of Colfax by proactively helping small independent businesses survive and thrive during and after Colfax bus rapid transit construction by providing financial and technical assistance. We have also a number of other recommendations to help small locally owned businesses throughout the East Central area, especially during this time of COVID, that can help make sure that we are doing what we can to prevent displacement of those businesses. Second, to make housing more affordable and make more options available to a wide range of families and individuals. And this includes providing a more diverse range of housing options in our neighborhoods, as well as using every tool in the toolbox, including zoning, to address the housing shortage by adding more affordable housing, especially affordable housing that's close to convenient public transit. Third, to improve services for residents experiencing homelessness and to take steps to prevent more people from losing their homes. And this includes a key emphasis on reducing involuntary displacement by preserving the existing affordable housing in the East Central area, as well as enhancing social services to residents experiencing homelessness. A key aspect of this is to preserve the existing income restricted housing, which over the plan horizon, more than half are scheduled to go back online as market rate housing and losing the income restriction that had been put in place. So a key aspect of making East Central more affordable is to permanently preserve the existing affordable housing that we're going to lose. Fourth is to make our streets safer and more comfortable for everyone by improving walking, bicycling, and public transit infrastructure. This includes building high quality sidewalks and safer crossings along Colfax and the streets immediately adjacent and parallel to Colfax. That includes 13th, 14th, 16th, and 17th, making sure that those streets are much safer to travel along and to cross. The East Central area contains some of our most historic neighborhoods and landmark structures in Denver. And this has been a key priority throughout the process to expand historic preservation by making it easier to reuse existing buildings, creating more historic districts, and ensuring that new buildings, when they are built, are fit in better with our surrounding neighborhoods through contextual design standards. This includes a recommendation to create what's called an adaptive reuse ordinance that helps reduce regulatory barriers for small businesses looking to expand or move into existing buildings, incentivizing preservation of historically significant and character providing buildings, and adopting new standards for quality design and compatibility with adjacent homes. And then sixth, which is the last priority recommendation, is to reduce our carbon pollution and create more climate resilient neighborhoods by providing more opportunities for people to live and work near transit, adding shade trees, and taking a green approach to stormwater management. This includes directing growth near high quality transit and protecting mature trees and focusing and prioritizing tree planting efforts in strategic areas where the tree canopy is deficient. Each neighborhood section that I mentioned earlier also includes what we call a transformative project, where we visualize how some of these recommendations can come together through physical changes in the environment. And so some of them include the District 6 police station redevelopment, key intersections such as Park Avenue, 11th and Ogden, Colfax in Colorado, 17th and Garfield, 13th and Vine, and a new community garden and neighborhood park in the Congress Park neighborhood. The implementation section categorizes our recommendations into three buckets. One, the regulatory topic, public infrastructure, and partnerships and programs. And again, this will set up our implementation program that will start once the plan is adopted. So now I'll get into the three review criteria that are used to evaluate approval of area plans. The first is that it is an inclusive community process. Second, that it's consistent with the vision, goals, and strategies of Comprehensive Plan 2040. And third, that the plan demonstrates a long-term view. So first, I'll talk about the inclusive community process. As Laura mentioned, this was a 3-year process, which is longer than we usually take for area plans, quite a bit longer. We extended the process by a full year because stakeholders and other community residents asked for additional time to do outreach, asked for additional time to review materials throughout the process. And we agreed with that and we granted those extensions. The process was robust. Over 3,500 participants weighed in at our workshops and online, and we received over 10,000 comments throughout this period. This included 6 community-wide workshops, 14 focus group meetings where we met with topic-based experts in priority topics such as affordable housing, small businesses, walking and bicycling, and 11 online surveys and activities. All of our community workshops had an online equivalent. So if you couldn't make the workshop, you could always take the same exact activities on our website using online tools. We had 30 steering committee meetings. We met 24 times with RNOs and other community groups. We had 6 office hours sessions where we allowed anyone who wanted to ask any questions or provide additional feedback in more of a one-on-one environment, the opportunity to do so. And we met with community members out in their neighborhoods to do field surveys of important locations within the East Central area. Our outreach included 23 CPD newsletters, 3 Denver Planning Board meetings that were on television. We flyered and put pop-up events at 81 locations where printed materials were provided and people were able to answer questions and provide comments. And we had at least 8 stories in the local media that included the Denver Post, Denver 7, 9 News, and Fox 31. Community outreach also included language access services, as Laura mentioned. We had Spanish language interpretation, food and childcare at every community workshop. We also hired 2 additional planners just for this project who were completely fluent and bilingual that were made available at the workshops for anyone who needed that assistance. So not only professional interpretation, but bilingual planners that could help people who needed those services do the activities. Multiple staff members from our consultant team were also bilingual as well. All of our flyers that we distributed throughout the East Central area, which included libraries, rec centers, schools, apartment buildings, businesses, all of those flyers were printed both in English and Spanish. All of our electronic communication, web materials, online activities are compatible with smartphones. They're all ADA accessible, and they're all available for auto translation. And in some instances, people mentioned that they had difficulty accessing the plan document or other materials online. And so by request, we did create print copies and delivered print copies of materials to those individuals that needed that. One of the things that I think our team is proud of that we did in this community outreach process was we set up a demographic tracking system from the very beginning of the process. And we did that not just to be able to report out at the end of the process who we reached, but we looked at that data throughout the process at each milestone, and in order to identify the demographic gaps and who we were not hearing from in the central area. So we would look at the demographic forms that were submitted both in our in-person meetings and online, and we would compare that data to the census demographics of the East Central area. And consistently throughout the process, the most underrepresented group were younger, lower income renters, particularly in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. With that, we did targeted outreach to help fill some of those gaps. We did a number of meetings at apartment buildings, such as the residences at Franklin Park, Renaissance Uptown Lofts. As Laura mentioned, for the first time in our department's history that we're aware of anyway, we partnered with service providers Christ in the City, and we did direct outreach to residents in the East Central area who are experiencing homelessness. That input we received from those residents was directly informed our social services recommendations in the plan. We did targeted outreach at schools, and we had a partnership with Councilman Hines' office, who used his own resources and his own staff to hold a series of over a dozen additional meetings focused on younger, lower income renters in Cap Hill. So the draft plan itself, so after the multiple years of engagement that I just summarized, we put out a draft plan document. And just on the draft plan document, we had over 300 residents weigh in and place comments within that document for suggestions. So we got over 3,000 comments on our different drafts of the plan, and we produced 3 of them. Most of those comments were smaller changes, but we did make over 100 substantive policy changes in response to that participation on the draft plan document. We're also very keen on transparency. We put every single comment that we received online, and they're all on our website. And we went to the length of responding to every single comment, and those responses are on our website as well. The planning board unanimously approved the East Central plan at their September 2nd meeting with 2 clarity and correctness conditions. 7 members of the public spoke in support of the plan, and 3 spoke in opposition to the plan at the planning board hearing. So with that, we staff find that the East Central area plan meets the first criteria, that it was developed through an inclusive public process. The second criteria, plan consistency with Comprehensive Plan 2040. This is in your staff report, but the 6 vision elements of Comprehensive Plan 2040 that provide the organizing framework for that plan are included as an organizing principle in the East Central plan. We expanded on the vision statements in each of these domains, each of these topic areas, and found consistency with numerous goals and strategies where we expanded upon those goals and vision statements and strategies, or clarified or customized those visions, goals, and strategies within the East Central area. Likewise, Blueprint Denver has an organizing framework of 3 major topic areas: land use and built form, mobility, and quality of life infrastructure. The East Central plan has all 3 of these topics in the plan, and we've expanded upon and are consistent with many of those policies within those 3 topic areas. There's a number of maps that are in Blueprint Denver, the future places, which is the land use designations, the growth strategy, the equity concepts, the modal priority maps. All of these maps were created within the East Central Plan and will update Blueprint Denver's comprehensive maps upon adoption. So with that, we do find that the plan is, the East Central Plan is consistent with both Comprehensive Plan 2040 and Blueprint Denver. And then the last criteria is that the plan has a long-term view. So the East Central Plan has a 2040 planning horizon. It establishes that longer-term view to maintain the look and feel of established residential neighborhoods while accommodating growth and strategically directing that growth to centers and corridors that are well served by high-quality transit. The vision will take many years to achieve. It is ambitious. And so we do find that the East Central Area Plan has the appropriate long-term perspective. So with that, our staff recommendation is that the East Central Plan is recommended for approval, having met the review criteria. And that concludes my presentation.